Hey everybody, it's Perch. I hope you're doing well. I'm heading to the hospital, so I'm going to just lead with that because this is going to be a little therapeutic. Yeah, I got like water shit in my lungs. I don't know. Yeah, I've taken the COVID test. It's fine. Just I've got a case of pneumonia that's not going away, and it's gotten worse. So I'm going to go check myself in, and we're going to try that for a little bit. So that'll be fun. So this is a different kind of video, right? Weren't expecting that when you clicked on. Anyway, so I thought, I'm trying to wrap up a couple things, and then unfortunately, you guys are going to be going back in time as you get to listen to videos recorded over the last month. But don't worry, they'll all be relevant and just as timely and topical. Part of the fun of this channel has been talking about things that are. It's always amazing to me what catches and what doesn't. I don't have a vested interest. When I make a video, I don't think, man, how am I supposed to get a lot of hits on this? When I do art, I try and remember what I recorded like a month ago to make the thumbnails. That's the operation you're getting here. It's really, that's what it is. I've said before, this is not a money making scheme. So that's kind of the whole. That's what I do. And thank you for all of you who supported and hung in, and I appreciate that, the kind words and everything else that have gone on, to date. So appreciate that. If suddenly the videos just stop after like 2 weeks, you'll know something bad happened. We won't think about that. Anyway, so I want to just throw this as an observation out because I think there's an important point, and maybe it's only important to me, but I do want to try getting it out because it matters to me. And if, this is, again, just a dumb YouTube show. It's not meant to be a legacy. It's not meant to be advice. It's not meant to be anything. I've long said the goal here is just to talk to you and try and have comic shop conversations. It's not to change the world. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. So every now and then somebody comes in the comments like, you're Perch trying to tell us what to do. No, I'm not. You can do whatever the hell you want. That really is my goal. I don't need you to believe what I believe. And, if it's food for thought, great. The absolute best mail I get, the stuff where I love the comments the most, or when people say things like, I hadn't thought about it that way. Don't agree, but, you gave me something else to think about. Thank you. That's the best compliment. That's really all I'm looking for, because that's what they call a conversation. One of the things that I think, and in terms of things that really irk the shit out of me, and again, everybody has their pet peeves, right? Everybody's got their own deal. I don't like it when people tell me what I'm thinking. I've said this before. Every now and then people come in the comments like, Perch says blah, 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 blah. And sometimes I think people think they're being funny when they do that shit, but it's really not. And I can usually tell when somebody's joking around versus being a prick. But it makes me crazy because it's basically saying, I don't care about the conversation. I'm going to make your words what I want them to be, and I'm going to argue with that. In which case, why bother? Why bother coming here at all? Just have that argument with your own little straw man in your head and go nuts. I think the problem with so much of the conversation, so much of the dialogue, so much of the fandom, and it really is all linked to us. If you are coming to enjoy comics or movies, but this is a comic book channel most of the time, you're doing it for a reason, right? You want to enjoy comics. You want to enjoy stories. You want to enjoy this fantasy realm. That's the reason why we're doing this. It's the reason why you buy this shit. It's the reason why you pay attention. Who else in their right mind is going to collect, hundreds or thousands of issues at cost, put them in a plastic bag and a board, store them in a box? Hell, some dumbasses even go and open up a store to do this, like I did. And we're all trying to be part of this life. And I think if you love comics, you get that. You get that that's, we're trying to be part of this story. We want to be part of the story. And what irks me is that people get rid of that value. They forget about that on a regular basis. So I've done these videos lately, trying to kind of digest pop culture, trying to kind of get to the root of woke, SJW, racism, bigotry, all that kind of stuff that words get thrown around. And the thing I keep coming back to, this is the important point. Again, it's mine, doesn't need to be yours. But my observation is people are way too quick to throw that shit out. And they're getting quicker at it. It doesn't, they've let go of critical thinking. They've let go of trying to ask questions. Why? Why are people this way? Why are they thinking this way? Why do they feel this way? It's far easier to just label them whatever they're going to label them. And what's funny is, by the way, if you come to this show, and I think some of you do, and you go, oh, look, Perch is bitching about woke culture. So this is the Perch I want. And then I turn around the next day and I'm bitching about, racism. And they're like, well, you did a 180 on me. What the fuck happened? It's the same point. It's that we should try and understand each other before we throw these labels. And isn't that what we all want? When I think about this angst that occurred between comic pros and fans and all the stuff that went on Twitter a couple years ago, isn't the core problem that a bunch of fans would say something like, I don't like something, and maybe some of them are polite about it, and maybe some of them were pricks about it, but the result was they all got called Nazis, or bigots, or racists, or homophobes, or all these other kind of stuff. That's what happened. Rather than take the hard work, and don't get me wrong, it is hard work, especially with the bullshit nonsense of social media and everything that goes on there. It's hard work to determine when somebody's being a good faith actor, when somebody's actually trying to make a point, when somebody's just a raving lunatic. It's not easy to sometimes discern those, but I think it's still worth it. Isn't it what comic books have taught us to do? Isn't that the point of superheroes, that you don't do the easy thing, you do the right thing? Isn't that the kind of the point of heroism? I thought that was the message. I think that we are very quick to throw around, well, that's woke. Well, that's racist. Well, that's evil. Well, that's a Nazi. I hate it. I made the point in the Little Mermaid video, and I stand by it, that, look, you had a bunch of people, and don't get me wrong, nothing is absolute. I had these yokels that were coming and going, well, of course there were some racists there saying that black people couldn't play the mermaid. Yeah, sure, that is a dumb statement to make. If you're saying that, a weave wouldn't work underwater, well, you're probably right. It probably wouldn't. But quite frankly, red flowing hair wouldn't work underwater either. That Little Mermaid would be tangled up with seaweed and barnacles and all kinds of shit in there. She looked terrible. But regardless, if you're going to make a point that black people can't be a mermaid because of a weave, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a stupid thing to say. Is it a racist thing to say? Probably. But the point is that that's not all of it. The point I made in that video was that, look, for 31 years, Disney has aggressively, maniacally, over and over and over, pushed a pale-skinned, red-haired, dummy. I still stand by that. I mean, come on, watch that movie. She's dumb as a post. And also, yes, a horrible hoarder. But regardless, that's what they pushed. And so if your reaction to a parent coming in and going, well, wait a minute, that's not my Little Mermaid, is to immediately turn around and go, oh, you're racist? You don't think a black person can play Little Mermaid? That's not what they said. And yeah, if we gave each other the benefit of the doubt just a little bit more, and it applies all directions, we'd have a far happier system right now. But the second you immediately label someone's confusion or, resistance to change does not necessarily mean racism. It can, if your resistance to change is, I'd still like to own slaves, then yeah, probably a racist. Not probably, definitely a racist. But that's not what everybody is saying. So you can't keep lumping everyone into the same one of two buckets. And yes, for those of you who have had questions about it, that is why I get irked about SJW and woke and all that kind of stuff, because the definition broadens to be anything. Anything. Does this comic have a hug in it? It's woke. Maybe. What kind of hug are we talking about? Are we talking about a nice pat on the back hug? Or are we talking about a throat hug, like Darth Vader likes to do? He's choking the shit out of you. That's also a hug. Different kind of hug. Probably not one you want. But regardless, I know that's not a shot at Zach. I guess he did a hug video. I haven't watched it. My point is, you can broaden these terms to be anything. And by doing so, you completely give up inability to think about what people are actually trying to say. And what is the point of that? What's the value in that? Is that what we want comics to be? Or just, you say you got to be on play A or B, and that's it? I do not believe that the majority of people who are saying, I don't like the black casting of Little Mermaid, are inherently racist. You can disagree with me, and that's fine. It's just my opinion, by the way. I've seen racism. I've told this story before. It's one of the ugliest stories I was ever in. I was on an interview panel. We had a guy come in. He was a very qualified military guy and a football player. Big guy, black guy, and he was perfectly qualified for the job. We go around the room. Yes, good, all the way around. We get to the last guy, and he goes, I don't know. Are the women going to feel safe with this guy? That was his comment. The shocking part was how he just rolled it out there. This was in a nice exec room. And the hard part for me was, I'm like, I think it will be fine. That was my comment. which is a dumb comment, a lame comment, but it was a surprised comment because I didn't see it coming. And I watched as people around the room were like, we do need to think about the women. And I'm like, have we now? What the fuck's going on here? That was in my head. I like that guy. He didn't get the job. To me, that was racism. Clear cut racism. When you go into a Little Mermaid, it's multifactored. Are there some people who refuse to see a black mermaid? Sure, I'll bet a lot of the people who are saying that are more than happy to buy Beyonce album. I'm sure. Are some of them confused because it's been a redhead now and now it's a black? Are they confused because they're sick of what feels like a aggressive, media culture that's saying we got to race swap everything because that's the only way we can be fair? I'm sure all those factors play in. Yes, I'm 100% sure there's some racism in there. And I'm 100% sure there's also plenty of people who are not racist, who are just confused and stuck in the swirl. And I think if we care about comics and we care about pop culture and we care about preserving some of this stuff, then we really ought to do the hard work to figure out which is which. And here's the funny thing. I think when you start to really dig into it, it gets pretty easy to understand. I think it's pretty easy to, separate out a mom with kids. And by the way, we were in a Target, and they had a little poster of the Little Mermaid, red hair, pale skin, the Little Mermaid, the Ariel mermaid that we've seen in the cartoons for 30 years. And a mom is talking to another mom, and the mom goes, "Oh, she's black now in the new movie." And the other mom goes, my wife and I are listening to all this, kind of amused, goes, "Oh, I don't think that will work out very well." And the first mom goes, "Why? Because she's black?" The other one goes, "No, because she's a redhead." And they're having this very bizarre conversation in Target where it's like nobody's really sure what they're even talking about. Is this racism? Is it brand recognition? Like, what is even going on? And this is happening all over the place. To a lesser extent, that is a little bit of what happened in Lord of the Rings. Now, as I've said in other videos, I think there's a lot of just silliness in there. But if you define something and then you change it, you can't expect everybody in the world to immediately go, "Oh, cool, I'm just going to throw away everything I knew and just go with this." That's not racism if they hold on to their ideas, if they hold on to their memories. That's human beings. We are wired to learn things and grow from them. Again, does that mean there are no racists in the world? Of course there are fucking racists in the world. Of course there are bigots. Of course there are whatever the hell the true definition of woke is. There are environmental terrorists. There are all kinds of different people out there. But the vast majority of people are good people. And I'll die on that hill. They actually do want good things for the country. They want good things for their families. They want good things for themselves. They're not out there to be hateful, awful people. I still believe it. And I'm one of the most cynical motherfuckers you're ever going to meet. If we keep interacting each other in just these very binary poles of everything has to be well, and by the way, you could do whatever you want, like I said at the very beginning. But at least don't shit on people who are trying to pluck out those details, who are trying to get to that nuance. I saw the jackass who were like, "Oh, nuance is just another word for progressive, brainwash." Just fuck off with that stuff. Seriously. I mean, we are amazing. Humans are amazing with their ability to logic and reason and pull things together. And I thought once upon a time that people who read comics liked to consider themselves smarter because they could, read and look at pictures and remember things. So if that's true, then we owe it to ourselves to at least attempt to try and get to the bottom of some of this stuff. We may still find ugliness there, but we're not going to find it every time. We're not going to find it nearly as many times as we assume by immediately going to the lowest common denominator. Sometimes comic creators are tired and pissed and they spout off on social media. Doesn't mean that they're, against every single fan and plotting to kill you. Sometimes they're immature little jackasses who aren't paid enough, or maybe they are paid too much and they never had a good spanking as a child. There's all kinds of reasons why people turn out the way they do. I think it's important to get to those details. And yes, it's a lot more work. But fuck, that's what comic books told us to do. If I'm taking one lesson, it's that. So anyway, I want to get off that of my chest. I know some of you don't agree. I've seen some very hostile stuff. You don't have to always immediately out the gate go to all these people are racist. We don't immediately have to go to there's two worlds out there, SJWs and Comicsgate. We don't have to go to these binary. That's not how the world is. And if you're playing in that fight, you're playing in a tiny, tiny, tiny little fight. Because the majority of people are standing out just trying to get some entertainment, not wanting to put up with this shit. So I'm heading into the hospital. Maybe I'll see you in a bit. Good luck to you. And again, for all of you, and most of you have, the vast majority of you have been amazingly supportive. Thank you for everything. I appreciate you. I like talking. I wish I was talking with you and not at you, but it is what it is. So hopefully someday, assuming I get all done with this, get the shit out of my lungs, go get a beer, long overdue. We're not always going to see eye to eye. We're not always going to see eye to eye. I don't want to always see eye to eye. I'm hoping that everybody has their own opinion. That's kind of what makes the world great. Thanks for listening.